In this video, I get creative with coloured gels in my small home studio. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. And today you join me back in my small home studio and I'm going to be using coloured gels, but coloured gels creatively, using gels in ways in which they perhaps weren't designed but create amazing images. Now to do this, I'm going to use a few types of coloured gel. This is perhaps my go-to coloured gel for normal gel use. These are little squares of gel, they come in all sorts of colours, and being designed for lighting, they are heat proof and I can stick them straight on my lights and get some amazing coloured effects. But we're not going to do that today, we're going to use these creatively, and not just these. I'm also going to use this. Now this isn't designed for photography, in fact we got this from the local florist. But it is a gel material. This is coloured cellophane for wrapping flowers. Now, under no circumstances am I going to stick this onto my lights because it will burn or melt and get pretty horrible. So it's not designed for photography. However, if it's used away from the lights, this stuff is brilliant. It adds colour to the scene. And of course, I didn't just buy red, I also got some blue as well. So let's get a model in, we'll get some lights in, and we'll get shooting. So today I've been joined by Beth, who's going to help me by doing some brilliant modelling. And this is quite difficult to do because it is going to be just tight headshots. Now for the gels, the first gel I'm using is going to be the sheets of gel. Now this is the proper gel stuff you would normally put in front of your lights. Well, it is going to go in front of the light, but it's going to go in front of Beth, and I mean it's going to go really close as well. Let's pop that out of the way first. Now because we are shooting just tight headshots, I'm going to use a large softbox as my background to give me a pure white background. You can use any sort of background you like, it doesn't have to be white, but I think it works really well with these shots. I've got my light set. I need a small light source for this because it's going to give me a nice hard defined line where the shadows go from the gel and not the gel. And I'm just going to check my exposure. So I'm getting f8 at the front of Beth, and if I meter off the back, I'm getting f8 as well. Now that will guarantee me a pure white background, and if you want to see how this works, check out one of my previous videos on the Adorama Learning Centre where you can discover how you can use a softbox as a background. Okay, so f8 is dialed into the camera. Let's just take a test shot like this. And we get a nice, clean, tight headshot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the gel, and I'm just going to hold this. I'm going to hover it right in front of Beth, just a little bit. And if I take a picture, now that works okay, but it's not quite as sharp and defined a line as I would like, and that's because my arms just aren't long enough. Now the closer I can get this to Beth, the harder the line is going to be, but I can get in some help, get someone to hold it, or we can get Beth to hold them for us. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to mix this up a little bit as we take a few shots. So for the next setup, I'm going to use an offcut of this. This is the cellophane, the gel that's not really gel, but works in basically the same way. Now what I've done is I've scrumpled it up and sort of straightened it out to give it a distressed pattern, and then I've made a small hole in the middle, and it's that hole that I'm going to shoot through. So that means I need to hold this between Beth and the front of my lens, and in fact it's going to go really, really close to my lens. Okay, now the light I've changed ever so slightly. I've gone for a slightly bigger, softer beauty dish, so we don't need that hard edge anymore. The background is still white, but that might not be the right look. Let me show you. So let's just take a test shot first of all. Here we go. Now when I do that, I can see that that works really well on Beth. There's areas that are sort of pinky red and areas that are normal colour. However, that background is still white, and that's really what white backgrounds do. They will blow out even through light coloured gels. So I'm going to decrease the power of the background. I can do that here using the streak light remote control because I have a second Xplor600 round the back powering that big softbox. So let's just drop that down to a lower power. I'll take it down 2 stops, see how that looks. So now it's not quite white, it's more of a grey colour, and of course grey, when you pass it through a gel, will pick up the colour of the gel. Okay, let's take a few shots. Beth, are you ready? Okay, here we go. So this cellophane, because it's used to wrap flowers normally, we got this from a florist, it comes in really great big long lengths, so we can use that to our advantage. So what I've got is I've got a length here that we folded up, and I'm going to wrap this around Beth, and we're going to use it to create some interesting, really high art pictures. Here we go, let's pop that around you. Okay, let's go and take some shots. Okay. And of course I can cut this into really thin strips and give Beth just a thin strip of the cellophane to play with and kind of pull it around, and well, let's see what creative things Beth can come up with that. There you go. Well, there we go. We've got some great shots using, well, gels in all sorts of creative ways. Let's get one of these shots into Photoshop and we'll do a bit of editing right now. Once again, the combination of good lighting and a good model and great makeup from a makeup artist really makes the post-processing a lot quicker and simpler. However, it's not that there's nothing to do, there's always something to do, and in this case, it's really down to the background. So I had a 120 centimetre roundish softbox at the background, and although that was fine most of the time, occasionally it was a bit small, but the fix is really simple. Let's just have a little look at one of the pictures and how I'm going to do it. So here's the problem. You can see the edge of the softbox up here and in the top left corner, but also in the bottom right corner. Now Beth was wearing a strapless top because I wanted a lovely clean shoulder line, and in this case I've got part of the top coming through. So let's start with this by fixing that area here. Now to do it, I'm actually going to use the crop tool. So if I get the crop tool here inside of Photoshop and then I rotate this around a little bit, as I rotate this around, I can go all the way around and kind of lose that top, but I lose a couple of other bits as well. I've lost quite a large part of a hand here on the right and a large chunk of hair there as well. Now to get those back, I'm just going to re-crop this image. So we'll drag out a little bit and we'll drag up a little bit. I'm just going to go to the edges of the hair and the hand, and that's pretty good. Now when I click on the tick, that's going to crop the image down and give me the clean shot, but there's still part of the background here, there is part of the softbox there, and these checkerboard patterns here too. Now, of course, I could fix some of this with cloning. I could have cloned in hands and hair, but it never really looks good. And the solution I'm going to come up with now is going to be quick and simple, and I can use it on all of my other images, and it's going to save me a ton of time. And it goes like this. I'm going to swap from the crop tool to the brush tool. And with the brush tool, I'm going to come down and make sure my foreground color is set to white. Now here is why I had white as my background. It's because if I paint white with just a standard paintbrush, it's going to look like it's the background, because pure white background from photography is the same as a pure white background when you actually paint it in with a paintbrush. There you go. It's worth spending the time getting that lovely white picture background in camera. And if I zoom in a little bit and we go get the paintbrush again, and this time I can just sort of do the hair as well. So a little bit more time here would be useful, but for speed, I can very quickly just go and sort out that little bit of stray hair that was coming down on the image. And there you go. There is my final picture completed. Well, I've had great fun playing with gels of all sorts of sizes and colours. And of course, if you want to see more videos from myself and the other amazing presenters right here on Adorama TV, you should be clicking on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.